Risa paces backstage, waiting for her turn at the piano. She knows she can play the sonata in her sleep. In fact, she often does. So many nights she would wake up to feel her fingers playing on the bed sheets. She would hear the music in her head, and it would still play for a few moments after she awoke. But then it would dissolve into the night, leaving nothing but her fingers drumming against the covers. She has to know the sonata. It has to come to her as easily as breathing. It's not a competition, Mr. Durkin always tells her. There are no winners or losers at a recital. Well, Risa knows better. Risa Ward, the stage manager calls. You're up. She rolls her shoulders, adjusts the barrette in her long brown hair, then takes the stage. Applause from the audience is polite, nothing more. Some of it is genuine, for she does have friends out there and teachers who want her to succeed, but mostly it's the obligatory applause from an audience waiting to be impressed. Mr. Durkin is out there. He's been her piano teacher for 5 years. He's the closest thing Risa has to a parent. She's lucky. Not every kid at Ohio State Home 23 has a teacher they can say that about. Most Tahoe kids hate their teachers because they see them as jailers. Ignoring the stiff formality of her recital dress, she sits at the piano. It's a concert Steinway as ebony as the night and just as long. Focus. She keeps her eyes on the piano, forcing the audience to recede into darkness. The audience doesn't matter. All that matters is the piano and the glorious sound she's about to charm out of it. She holds her fingers above the keys for a moment, then begins with perfect passion. Soon her fingers dance across the keys, making the flawless seem facile. She makes the instrument sing. Then her left ring finger stumbles on a B flat, slipping awkwardly onto B natural. A mistake. It happens so quickly it could go unnoticed, but not by Risa. She holds the wrong note in her mind, and even as she continues playing, that note reverberates within her, growing to a crescendo, stealing her focus until she slips again into a second wrong note, and then, 2 minutes later, blows an entire chord. Tears begin to fill her eyes, and she can't see clearly. You don't need to see, she tells herself. You just need to feel the music. She can pull out of this nosedive, can't she? Her mistakes, which sound so awful to her, are barely noticeable. Relax, Mr. Durkin would tell her. No one is judging you. Perhaps he believes that to be, but then he can afford to believe it. He's not 15, and he's never been a ward of the state. 5 mistakes. Every one of them is small, subtle, but they're mistakes nonetheless. It would have been fine if any of the other kids' performances were less than stellar, but the others shined. Still, Mr. Durkin is all smiles when he greets Risa at the reception. You were marvelous, he says. I'm proud of you. I stunk up the stage. Nonsense. You chose one of Chopin's most difficult pieces. Professionals can't get through it without an error or two. You did it justice. I need more than justice. Mr. Durkin sighs, but he doesn't deny it. You're coming along nicely. I look forward to the day I see those hands playing Carnegie Hall. His smile is warm and genuine, as are the congratulations from the other girls in her dorm. It's enough warmth to ease her to sleep that night and to give her hope that maybe, just maybe, she's making too much of it and being unnecessarily hard on herself. She falls asleep thinking of what she might choose to play next. 1 week later, she's called into the headmaster's office. There are 3 people there. A tribunal, thinks Risa. 3 adults sitting in judgment, like the 3 monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Please sit down, Risa, says the headmaster. She tries to sit gracefully, but her knees, now unsteady, won't allow it. She slaps awkwardly down into a chair far too plush for an inquisition. Risa doesn't know the other 2 people sitting beside the headmaster, but they both look very official. Their demeanor is relaxed, as if this is business as usual for them. The woman to the headmaster's left identifies herself as the social worker assigned to Risa's case. Until that moment, Risa didn't know she had a case. She says her name, Miss Something or other. The name never even makes it to Risa's memory. She flips through the pages of Risa's 15 years of life as casually as if she were reading a newspaper. Let's see. You've been awarded the state from birth. It looks like your behavior has been exemplary. Your grades have been respectable, but not excellent. Then the social worker looks up and smiles. I saw your performance the other night. You were very good. Good, thinks Risa, but not excellent. Miss Something or other leafs through the folder for a few seconds more, but Risa can tell she's not really looking. Whatever's going on here was decided before Risa walked through the door. Why am I here? Miss Something or Other closes her folder and glances at the headmaster and the man beside him in an expensive suit. The suit nods. The social worker turns back to Risa with a warm smile. We feel you've reached your potential here, she says. Headmaster Thomas and Mr. Paulson are in agreement with me. Risa glances at the suit. Who's Mr. Paulson? The suit clears his throat and says, almost an apology, I'm the school's legal counsel. A lawyer? Why is there a lawyer here? Just procedure, Headmaster Thomas tells her. He puts a finger into his collar, stretching it, as if the tie has suddenly become a noose. It's school policy to have a lawyer present at these kind of proceedings. And what kind of proceeding is this? The three look at one another, none of them wanting to take the lead. Finally, Miss Something or Other speaks up. You must know that space in state homes is at a premium these days, and with budget cuts, every staff is impacted, ours included. Risa holds cold eye contact with her. Wards of the state are guaranteed a place in state homes. Very true, but the guarantee only holds until 13. Then, all of a sudden, everyone has something to say. The money only stretches so far, says the headmaster. Educational standards could be compromised, says the lawyer. We only want what's best for you and all the other children here, says the social worker. And back and forth it goes like a three-way ping-pong match. Risa says nothing, only listens. You're a good musician, but... As we said, you've reached your potential. As far as you can go. Perhaps if you'd chosen a less competitive course of study. Well, that's all water under the bridge. Our hands are tied. There are unwanted babies born every day, and not all of them get storked. We're obliged to take the ones that don't. We have to make room for every new ward. That means cutting 5% of our teenage population. You do understand, don't you? Risa can't listen anymore, so she shuts them up by saying what they don't have the courage to say themselves. I'm being unwound. Silence. It's more of an answer than if they had just said yes. The social worker reaches over to take Risa's hand, but Risa pulls it back before she can. It's all right to be frightened. Change is always scary. Change? Yells Risa. What do you mean change? Dying is a bit more than change. The headmaster's tie turns into a noose again, preventing blood from getting to his face. The lawyer opens his briefcase. Please, Miss Ward, it's not dying, and I'm sure everyone here would be more comfortable if you didn't suggest something so blatantly inflammatory. The fact is, 100% of you will still be alive, just in a divided state. Then he reaches into his briefcase and hands her a colorful pamphlet. This is a brochure from Twin Lakes Harvest Camp. It's a fine place, says the headmaster. It's our facility of choice for all our unwinds. In fact, my own nephew was unwound there. Goody for him. Change, repeated the social worker. That's all. The way ice becomes water, the way water becomes clouds. You will live, Risa, only in a different form. But Risa's not hearing anymore. Panic has already started to set in. I don't have to be a musician. I can do something else. Headmaster Thomas sadly shakes his head. Too late for that, I'm afraid. No, it's not. I could work out. I could become a buff. The military always needs more buffs. The lawyer sighs in exasperation and looks at his watch. The social worker leans forward. Risa, please, she says. It takes a certain body type for a girl to be an army buff and many years of physical training. Don't I have a choice in this? But when she looks behind her, the answer is clear. There are 2 guards waiting to make sure that she has no choice at all, and they lead her away. She thinks of Mr. Durkin. With a bitter laugh, she realizes that he may get his wish after all. Someday he may see her hands playing in Carnegie Hall. Unfortunately, the rest of Risa won't be there. She's not allowed to return to her dormitory. She will take nothing with her, because there's nothing she needs. That's the way it is with Unwinds. Just a handful of her friends sneak down to the school's transportation center, stealing quick hugs and shedding quick tears, all the while looking over their shoulders, afraid of getting caught. Mr. Durkin does not come. This hurts Risa the most of all. She sleeps in a guest room in the home's welcome center. Then, at dawn, she's loaded onto a bus full of kids being transferred from the huge Staho complex to other places. She recognizes some faces, but doesn't actually know any of her travel companions. Across the aisle, a fairly nice-looking boy, a military buff by the look of him, gives her a smile. Hey, he says, flirting in only a way buffs can. Hey, Risa says back. I'm being transferred to the State Naval Academy, he says. How about you? Oh, me? She quickly sifts the air for something impressive. Miss Marple's Academy for the Highly Gifted. She's lying, says a scrawny, pale boy sitting on Risa's other side. She's an Unwind. Suddenly, the buff boy leans back, as if unwinding is contagious. Oh, he says. Well, that's too bad. See ya. And he leaves to sit with some other buffs in the back. Thanks, Risa snaps at the scrawny kid. The kid just shrugs. It doesn't matter anyway. Then he holds his hand out to shake. I'm Samson, he says. I'm an Unwind too. Risa almost laughs. Samson. Such a strong name for a mealy boy. She doesn't shake his hand, still annoyed at having been exposed to the handsome buff. So what did you do to get yourself unwound? Risa asks. It's not what I did. It's what I didn't do. What didn't you do? Anything, Samson answers. It makes sense to Risa. Not doing anything is an easy path to unwinding. I was never going to amount to much anyway, Samson says. But now, statistically speaking, there's a better chance that some part of me will go on to greatness somewhere in the world. I'd rather be partly great than entirely useless. The fact that his twisted logic makes sense just makes her angrier. Hope you enjoy harvest camp, Samson. Then she leaves to find another seat. Please sit down, calls the chaperone from the front, but no one's listening to her. The bus is full of kids moving from seat to seat, trying to find kindred spirits or trying to escape them. Risa finds herself a window seat with no one beside her. This bus trip will only be the first leg of her journey. They explained to her, to all the kids after they boarded the bus, that they would first be taken to a central transportation center, where kids from dozens of state homes would be sorted onto buses that would take them to wherever they were going. Risa's next bus would be full of Samsons. Wonderful. She'd already considered the possibility of sneaking onto another bus, but the barcodes on their waistbands make that an impossibility. It's all perfectly organized and foolproof. Still, Risa occupies her mind with all the scenarios that could lead to her escape. That's when she sees the commotion outside her window. It's further up the road. Squad cars are on the other side of the freeway, and as the bus changes lanes, she sees two figures in the road, two kids racing across traffic. One kid has the other in a chokehold and is practically dragging him, and both of them have run right in front of the bus. Risa's head is slammed against the window as the bus suddenly pulls to the right to avoid the two kids. The bus fills with gasps and screams, and Risa is thrown forward down the aisle. But as the bus comes to a sudden, jarring stop, her hip is hurt, but not bad. It's just a bruise. She gets up, quickly taking stock of the situation. The bus leans sideways. It's off the road in a ditch. The windshield is smashed, and it's covered with blood. Lots of it. Kids around her all check themselves. Like her, no one is badly hurt, although some are making more of a fuss than others. The chaperone tries to calm down one girl who's hysterical. And in this chaos, Risa has a sudden realization. This is not part of the plan. The system might have a million contingencies for state wards trying to screw with things, but they don't have a plan of action for dealing with an accident. For the next few seconds, all bets are off. Risa fixes her eyes on the front door of the bus, holds her breath, and races towards the door.